Hey, this is Glen Drover, and this is Burnt Offerings.
First things first, my name is Cecil. I'm the host of Burnt Offerings, your metal tribute to the gods. We are speaking with Glen Drover. What are you doing currently, if you don't mind me asking? Other than graciously hosting this heavy metal battle of the bands.
Well, my solo band, GDB, Glen Drover Band. I work with Hale, Testament. So
I was doing a little bit of a history over you. I saw that you've been with King Diamond, Megadeth, and of course Eidolon. Personally, I'm actually a fan of Eidolon, but if you don't mind me asking, what happened between Eidolon and now?
Well, what happened was we put out our last Eidolon record out, I think it was 2004, something like that, maybe a little later. And it would have been around that time because that's when I joined Megadeth. So we were actually in the middle of writing a record and getting it, actually when I got the gig, Sean was doing drum tracks at Andy LaRock's studio in Sweden from King Diamond. And when I got the gig, we just decided that, okay, well at this point we're going to do a lot of the recordings in between tours and whenever we could to finish the record. So that's pretty much what happened at that point. We ended up finishing the record, but it took a little bit of time, obviously.
Is there any, I guess would you say there's a future for Eidolon, or is it?
At this point, I'm not really seeing anything happening. Who knows what's going to happen down the line, but right now, no.
All right. And I've also noticed that you've been playing with your brother throughout these years. How's the dynamics between the two of you being through these bands together? Like, was it unique? Was it awkward?
No, it was never awkward because me and Sean have been playing together since we were like, very young. So it was always very comfortable. And for me to get into Megadeth was an amazing thing. But to get Sean into the fold, and here you got two Canadians who are brothers who have a good chemistry to the point where, I don't have to look at Sean on stage. I know what he's going to do because we've been playing for so long, we have that instant connection. So, no, it was never awkward. It was always great.
But in bands such as King Diamond and Megadeth, which have their own, I guess, standardized sounds to them, and you and your brother have your own dynamic, was there ever a bit of a conflict?
No, never. We were always very supportive of each other. And, before I joined Megadeth, when I was the last tour I did with King Diamond, Sean actually was out with us as a guitar tech and a drum tech. So that's where he kind of started, So that's how he was kind of brought into the fold, so to speak. And it went from there.
And I understand that your brother still is in Megadeth?
Right.
Do you still communicate a lot? Do you work
Sure. I mean, I just seen the guys Monday night. They had an off day in Toronto, so we all hung out and had a good time, and I'm still recovering from that.
Fired a little too hard?
No, I'm kidding. It was a good night. We had a good time.
That's good to hear. So if you don't mind me asking, how did you exactly get invited to be a guest judge for this event tonight?
Basically, it was Mike Metal, I think, that kind of spearheaded the whole thing. And I guess spoke to Nick and said, hey, probably a good idea to get Glen involved. That's all I know. So,
did you choose this night yourself, or was this night given
No,
to you?
it was chosen. Jeff was to do the first month, and then I would do the second month.
Okay. And how do you feel judging for this night, these bands tonight? Do you know anything about them?
No, which is great because I come in kind of just completely blind of how they sound, so I can kind of just very open-minded kind of judging angle, to look at the proper things of interaction, song construction, and individual performance and as a whole.
Seeing as you have this history, you do have your talent, you have your knowledge of the music. If you knew these bands, who they were, what they came at you with, do you honestly believe it would have created a bias?
I don't know. I mean, again, it's for me. It's exciting to go in cold like this. Just to kind of go in and just not
Shock
knowing
your system?
not knowing anything about the style, whatever. I kind of have an idea of the style. I know they're not playing ABBA, so it's going to be fun.
And just more curiosity on my part, but what would be your preferred, I guess, subcategory of metal?
Fuck, I don't know. I mean, there's so many branches off the tree. There's so many different things I like. I favor the prog stuff. You know, there are definitely there's some death stuff that I like. You know, especially the older school birth of that whole thing, like Possessed and Death and all these bands, Cannibal Corpse. You know, so it's gonna be interesting.
So you're naming a lot more of the darker types of metal, but Eidolon was a bit more power metal influence.
Some of it was. Some was, some of it was that, some of it was prog, some was death metal. It was a mixed bag, man. There was we had a lot of, here's how, they're a power metal band or this or that. But really, I mean, we're kind of all over the map, man. There's influences from Rush to fucking King Diamond to Priest to all kinds of stuff. It was a real mixed bag, but we always tried to make sure that the album came together cohesively, so it sounded like all the songs belonged on the same record. Instead of something happened, sounding like it came off with like a sore thumb sticking out. I think we were good at that.
So every album was not necessarily a concept, but more of a goal.
No, there weren't any well, there was one concept album, but it wasn't an actual official release. But the majority of the albums that were more official through Metal Blade and stuff were, just individual concepts.
Would you ever consider yourself doing anything other than metal?
Well, yeah, I think on the Metal Illusion album that I did, I branched out by doing more jazz, fusion stuff, prog, stuff that I had not really touched before. So it was a challenge, but a lot of fun, and it's music that I've grown up with and love.
I'll tell you honestly, I've only fairly recently discovered Eidolon, and I've heard maybe 2 of the albums. I can't recall which ones are which, but they do have elements in the albums, in each one of the tracks, that when I listen to them, it's like a fish hook right in the cheek. It just pulls me closer all the time, and I don't know what it is, but you guys have successfully matched that ability.
That's cool. Thank you. Well, we tried. We definitely did a lot of albums. We made a couple of mistakes along the way, I think, with vocalists, but in the end, we captured the right vocalist who we thought that would complement the dynamics of the music, because there is a lot of dynamics, and that was Nils from Pagan's Mind, because he could do anything. But at that point we joined Megadeth. Half the band had joined Megadeth, so everything changed.
So this is me going backwards a little bit. I hope you don't mind. But I'm curious about the timeline progression. How did you guys get involved with King Diamond? How did you guys get involved with Megadeth? What were the backstories behind those 2 instances?
Long stories, but I'll make them brief.
Sure.
King Diamond was basically, in the early 90s, they kept going through different members of the band. And Sean had mentioned, why don't you do like a demo tape of yourself, a videotape, playing some of the songs, do a solo, and send it off to their, agency, which I did, which was in Denmark at the time. Again, long story short, I ended up getting in touch with King. He was totally in for what we know. He totally liked the style of it and said, if something comes up, I'll give you a call. We remained friends for years, and there was something that came up in '97. And then the whole Megadeth thing was basically a buddy that we met when Eidolon played Wacken Festival in 2003. And we met this guy who came from the UK saying, hey, I traveled here just to see you guys. And he was part of the whole communication with Dave McRobb with the Megadeth forums or Megadeth website, and they exchanged a couple of Eidolon albums, and they both agreed that. And he's a Canadian guy too as well, and said, yeah, this could be a possibility, because there was elements of old Megadeth style in some of those songs, especially in Culmination and albums like that, and that's where it kind of started. Yeah.
This is what I like to do at the end of all my interviews. For you, I hope you don't mind. I always ask the person I'm interviewing to give a little bit of an insight, some words of wisdom, or even just like a little blurb from yourself to everyone listening. So feel free, whatever comes to your mind, please share with all
Well,
of
the
us.
one thing I would say for, especially bands, it's coming up now, it's not easy, as we know, with all the thievery and all the problems that we're having in the industry, but try not to let that, dissuade you from doing what you want to do and what you believe and love in to do with music. You should follow that path and continue to do it, because I'm always very optimistic, and I think things will turn around. We're in a bit of a weird situation now, but just keep going, and just stick to your dreams, man.